Canada squad for the upcoming window will be announced on Thursday. And according to reports, Middlesbrough center back ALFIE Jones will be part of the Canada setup. Obviously, with no Moise Bombito, that center back position has been pretty problematic for Jesse Marsch just in terms of collection, just what players may be available or not. ALFIE Jones, Ollie, does it do anything for you bringing in a championship center back into the fray?
It does, yeah. I think this is one they've been chasing for a while, so it's taken some time to get it done. And obviously time is tight now to integrate players before the World Cup. But the reality is ALFIE Jones, you can make the case, is playing week in, week out at a higher level for his club than any Canada defender other than Moise Bombito. Right, with Derek Cornelius playing in Scotland now, I think you'd put the championship above that level. And this is a club that's currently, I believe, third in the table in the championship, competing at the right end of it as well. So, look, I'm not taking Derek Cornelius out of the lineup. I think that is absolutely his spot to lose.
That's what I was hearing.
No, that's his spot to lose next to Moise Bombito. But I do think this is a player that comes in and immediately competes with Luc de Fougerolles behind them, and potentially could be one injury away from playing in the World Cup for Canada. So it's a position that clearly they still wanted to strengthen. We're looking for options. They found one, and I think he's a pretty relevant player pretty immediately for this team.
He looks like he might fit the bill with his size, his stature, his age as well. Yeah, he looks like he could. Like, obviously, look, everyone healthy. Like, Jesse Marsch is riding out Bombito and Cornelius, rightfully so. I don't think that's a position that you want to chop and change. And it's a lot about chemistry and having a left-footed player playing on the left side, a right-footed player. We know what it looks like when everyone's healthy. But let's look at the last 12 months for Canada. When have we had everyone healthy? And when does that happen in world football? It just doesn't. So I think an option like ALFIE coming in might be something that Jesse Marsch needs to take a look at. And I also think this window might be the time. You can't just rely on Luc de Fougerolles. As much as he will be a talent, and maybe not this World Cup is his, maybe the next one in the future, or he's the future center back for Canada, you still might need someone to be like, look, I've been here before. I've played so many professional games, and I understand the role, and I can adjust and assimilate to what Marsch wants me to do. But you might have to give him an opportunity and see what he can do.
All right, do you want me to be real here?
Yeah.
Of course, I'm always real.
What
I
do you
said
think?
this on a previous show. I'm not sure if it was posted or not, but I mean, ALFIE Jones is fine. Like, he's fine, but I question whether he plays the way that Jesse Marsch wants to play. Like, he's not good in aerial challenge. He's not particularly fast, not particularly aggressive. The Middlesbrough team that you talk about, Ollie, they play very defensive. Like, they are very they sit back, and he's protected in a way because that's a system that they play, and he's very effective in playing it. This isn't someone that's going to be able to go out and press and play back and forth type of football. Like, so although he's a good player, I'm concerned about the fit within the system that Canada plays. He's a good, not great. He's steady. He's fine. So we'll bring something to the group, maybe some more depth, more so than anything else. Also, he plays on the left side. He's another option that's a left-sided center back for me. So he's adding to the depth pool, and not a player that should be hyped that he's going to step in and be able to be this, that, or anything else. More so than anything else, I think that this tells you what Jesse Marsch thinks about Kamal Miller and players like him and Joel Waterman, where he has zero or very little faith in these players to come in and be able to do a job. So he prefers to bring in another player with loose ties more so than anything else. Like, look, I'm not trying to paint a picture that he's a bad player. He's a fine player, and a player of his quality and experience is worthwhile to bring into a Canada camp. But let's just temper expectations and be real about what he is and what he isn't. Okay? Hopefully what comes from this, and I'm talking to the Voyageurs, okay? I'm not sure who does their songbook, but the Canadian songs and chants heading into the World Cup needs to step up. Honestly, it all just we're hosting a World Cup. Things need to go up here. I'm willing to come in and help with songs, but
I think I know what you're gonna.
Mr. Jones is it writes itself. I could come up with my own words, but Mr. Jones by Counting Crows is a bloody great song. And pass me the bottle, Mr. Jones. believe in me.
He actually did it.
Help me believe in anything. No? Come on,
Do you
guys.
think this
I
advice
want
is going to be taken up?
someone who believes, yeah, Mr. Jones and me. No? Tell
It's
each
a-
other fairy tales.
This guy kept going. Wheelie.
It's a big
And we
ask
stare
of a
at the
football
beautiful
stadium.
women. She's a looking at you. She's a looking at me. Okay. There you go.
We weren't
Mr.
crazy.
Jones. I love a Mr. Jones. So welcome to Canada. ALFIE Jones.
Well, welcome.
Also, by the way, I'm a fan of anyone named Elf. Elf the Blassus. Elf from the TV show back then.
What
ALFIE
is
is a
going-
great name. So
It is good.
let's talk Marcelo Flores, shall we? Because reports also have him coming into Canada camp as a training player. I mean, this was once a player that we spent plenty of energy, plenty of oxygen talking about. When was Flores going to commit to Canada? He was born in Georgetown, Ontario, Canadian family, but he has the Mexican heritage and ended up choosing to play his international football with Mexico. But he was an under 21 player when he picked up his caps, is with Club America now, not playing a whole lot. And perhaps he sees a way to get into the Canada team more so than Mexico right now. And that one-time change is available for the young player if he so chooses. What do you make of this, Ollie?
I think there's no harm in taking a look if the player is still interested in playing for Canada. Obviously, he remains eligible. I think Canada, you could say, we've been talking for some time about, do we have enough players who can play between the lines, kind of connect the midfield to the attack? Could this be a player who comes in and does that? I'm not sure. He's not playing a ton of football right now, coming off the bench mostly for Tigres and relatively infrequently at that. I think there's an interesting conversation to be had, obviously, about the fact that he did choose Mexico the first time around and is now coming back to Canada. I think you have to give young players a certain amount of grace. They have to make some very big decisions at an early stage of their career about who they want to represent. I'm not trying to slate him for choosing Mexico over Canada and saying he should be out of consideration for that reason. He was a teenager or 20 years old or around there when he did that. I get that it's a tough call. I do think there's a question about, do you consider this player for the World Cup over players who have committed to Canada, some for several years, have been part of this group for a much longer period of time, have kind of put in the hard yards to get to this point, to be on the verge of a World Cup, only to potentially be replaced by a guy who did choose to play for Mexico originally and is now coming back in, 6-7 months out. That one might sit a little bit uncomfortably with me if that were to be the case over some of the players he might be competing with. But I think bringing him into a camp and just seeing what the fit's like, I don't really have an issue with that.
Who cares how we feel as well? It's what the players feel. Like I know for me, if I'm going to camp and I'm representing Canada, but there's someone that is Canadian but chose to play for Mexico but wants to be a participant in the camp now when you're getting ready for a World Cup, you're like, yo, you want the sauce when everything's made, right? But you bring up an interesting point that sticks out to me, Ollie, is that he's 22 right now. Like the Arsenal. Yeah, I said it. The Arsenal picked this guy up, right? When he was just a youth and a teen. But obviously he has some juice there and has some sauce and can play this game at a very high level. He has something there. You just think about windows. 22 now, that would be the time to get him in and maybe to see, because if you're going for the next World Cup as well, that's 26 at that point. He'll be in his prime. Like there's a case to be made there. Are there that many players right now in that 10 position that have the ceiling that Flores has? Like, would this be the time to bring him in beyond Marsh and what that might look like in a year or 2 years' time? Would he be a guy that can really change things up for Canada? I think he has the potential to do that. And that's not because he signed to the Arsenal. That's because everything from the metrics says that he can do that. And to be fair, it's not a position where in Canada we have a plethora of options and players throughout history that do that, right? Keepers, defenders, like, you can name it. Now lately strikers, but that one magic man, it's an area that is almost neglected a little bit.
I said Club America's Tigres. He's barely been playing, so apologies for that. Look at you guys being sentimental. Like what the players think. Players come and go. Are you good enough or aren't you good enough? That's what it comes down to. Can he make this team better? Because I'm sorry, coming out of next summer's World Cup, you're not going to be like, Canada were a bunch of good guys, but they didn't have players that weren't good enough. Like, if he's good enough, he's going to play. And I think that young people end up making mistakes sometimes. And I think that this is kind of a little bit of an acknowledgement like that. And I reported that at the time, and I was kind of well versed into what was going on. There were family pressures to go represent Mexico. And also his family thought it was best for his career. If your father, who plays a large role in your career, in your life, is encouraging you to do one thing, like walking you in that direction, I'm not going to say no to my dad.
You do it.
Like, are you guys like, this wasn't like some like 30-year-old person who's out on his own, like operating on an island that made this decision. Like, this was very much a family decision, and that's what they believed was best at the time. And he's a young man who makes a mistake. Like, he's not the first player that this has happened to, and quite frankly, won't be the last player. Like, Junior Hoylett, by the way, like, we should bring him up because he's been an awesome player for Canada. No, but he held off committing for Canada for years and years and years and years and years and years, like, because he could have played for Jamaica, and he finally came around, and we're all so thrilled that he did. Like, I don't care if he's had a cup of coffee for Mexico. I care about what Flores can potentially do in the future. And like I said, is he good enough right now? Maybe not, but he could be someday. And I would much rather have him part of the equation than not.
I don't think anyone's saying that like this kid shouldn't be able to potentially play for Canada. Like, we're not banning him from ever being in consideration. But you've got 26 players to take to a World Cup next summer, like not a couple of years away, next summer. That's a very different conversation, I think. And you've got to show, it can't just be like we think this kid is talented or he's done this for his club. He's got to come into the camp and prove it. And I think he's very short on time to do that over other players who have been here longer.
We were just talking about ALFIE Jones. Like, has he ever like set foot in Canada? Like, this player like grew up playing with a lot of these players, playing in Georgetown. Like, there's a direct connection. When I hear the suggestion that that people don't want him involved or are just like holding ill will towards him, even after he could potentially make a decision to come back to Canada, it's like, get over it, man. Like, get over it. Like, what is going to make Canada a better team now and in the future? That's what I'm concerned with. So.
That's fine, but I do think there is a difference with ALFIE Jones where this is the first opportunity he has had to come into Canada, right? This is not the first opportunity Marcelo Flores has had. Now, I don't think that should be completely held against him. I'm not saying that, but he did have the choice to come and play for Canada a couple of years ago, didn't take it. So I don't think it's unreasonable to say that, you know, there might be some consequences for that when it comes to the World Cup.
And it's also how things seem, right? Like, it seems like now where you're hosting or co-hosting a World Cup and things are in a different place for Canada, there's a bit more notoriety than there was 3 years ago. And now you're trying to get on the train. I can see why people have a sour taste in their mouth. But I will also say, forgive. I've made mistakes as well.
Yeah, of course.
Forgive.
I welcome both ALFIE Jones and Marcelo Flores back into the Canada.
Let's just side off there.
I want to be Bob Dylan. Mr. Jones wishes he was someone just a little bit more funky. And
this went off the rails. See you in Ottawa, everyone. Love you.
Mr. Wheelie. Jones and me, we all want to be big stars.
I'm assuming we've cut.